Jacksonville Jaguars fans, welcome into Duval Daily, presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan DeLugo. Thank you for tuning in. Thursday, June 12th, Jaguars third and final, mandatory minicamp practice is in the books. School's out for summer. We'll not have Jags practice until late July, probably somewhere in the July 20s for training camp. Once training camp gets here, it's on. The NFL season is on once training camp gets here because you've got training camp practices that everybody's fired up about. You've got preseason getting going, and then the regular season is right around the corner. So we're not too far off, right? About 3 months before the regular season, about 2 months before preseason. So we're getting there, folks. We are getting there. But Jaguars' final mandatory minicamp practice was today, this morning. It was a shorter practice. It was not as intense as yesterday. I think yesterday was probably the height of the intensity and competition throughout this off-season portion of practices. You had rookie minicamp, then you had voluntary OTAs, which pretty much everyone was at for the duration. And then you had this week the mandatory minicamp. I definitely think the first 2 days of mandatory minicamp were like the most intense that we've had, which should be expected. And Liam Cohen has said they're trying to get everybody ready for training camp this week. It's supposed to be kind of like a trial run for training camp, and he was pretty pleased with the way things went overall. There are some storylines to get to today, some practice takeaways, and just recap. So first and foremost, Brian Thomas Jr. was practicing today in full. So that's awesome. I mean, you're sitting there watching practice yesterday. You see Brian Thomas Jr. go down, and you just have like a million different thoughts racing through your head. You're like, there's 3 months till the season starts. Like, what's going on here, right? But he left the field. He came back to the field yesterday and was on the sideline for the duration of practice. Liam Cohen said after practice, full range of motion, he's fine. And in fact, Brian Thomas Jr. was fine because he was back at practice today. Didn't look like he was ailing in any way, shape, or form. So that's just a huge win for Jaguars fans without question. Second big piece of news, Travis Hunter started the practice in teal, playing on the offensive side of the ball. Finished practice in a white penny or jersey on the defensive side of the ball. That's the first time we've seen that, and was pretty cool. Wasn't expected, and then all of a sudden it's like, wait, Travis Hunter's on defense wearing white. Pretty cool. So that is, I think, obviously it's a storyline. People are going to talk about it. Oh, he's finally practicing in a single practice on both sides of the ball. Liam Cohen talked about how during the season they're going to have to do that. There's going to be practices where he has to practice on both sides of the ball. And today, Cohen mentioned they're probably going to do that some in training camp as well. There's going to be practices where he's on both sides. He has been getting mental work in on both sides every single day, but the physical work at practice, it's been one side or the other, mostly on the offensive side. You've seen him getting sprinkled in on the defensive side. And then today, he played both sides. Again, more on the offense, but he did finish practice on the defensive side of the ball, which is very cool. Travis Hunter, you continue to hear nothing but good things about him. He does bring energy out there on the practice field. He does make the plays he's asked to make, way more often than not, even for being a rookie. So those two guys right there that we just talked about, Travis Hunter, Brian Thomas Jr., should bring a lot of excitement in 2025 and beyond for this Jacksonville Jaguars football team and offense. Had some 7-on-7, a little bit of 11-on-11, some walkthrough, some special teams. So we'll dive into it here. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. If you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe. Helps me out tremendously. 7-on-7 notes. Trevor had a nice connection with Brenton Strange, Brian Thomas Jr., De'Ami Brown. With the backups, Eli Pankall had a contested catch on the sideline, which he had a pretty good week, I would say. I think that he ramped it up a little bit this week. Undrafted free agent, big bodied receiver, not the tallest. I think about 6'1", 6'2", but very strong, very physical, good size, elite athlete from a testing standpoint. He had a pretty good week. 11 on 11. I think Tank Bigsby looks really good. These were my notes before Liam Cohen spoke, and then Liam Cohen did talk about the running game a little bit. I thought the running game looked really good today. And it's difficult to judge that when there's no pads. It absolutely is. But it looked like there were just some big holes that they opened up. And I thought Tank looked really good, really explosive. It was cool. He had a run where he broke out, got to the second level, then got to the third level, racing towards the end zone. And Tyson wanted to challenge him a little bit. And they were running stride for stride. Tyson couldn't quite catch up. Obviously, he didn't have a perfect angle coming from the other side of the field on the outside. But Tank, he showed off the Jets a little bit, and so did Tyson. Pretty cool stuff. But I think that the offensive line did a really good job in the run game today. Again, no pads, but there were some holes being opened up, I think, more so than what you've seen so far. And Liam Cohen did talk about how right now it's mostly outside zone stuff because you're not wanting to really run traps, wham. You're not trying to crack back on your own guys right now in this type of setting. That's overly physical types of gap power runs that you just don't need to see in this type of setting because they're too physical, too violent. But in training camp, they will get into more diverse run game and more gap and power stuff. So that's just something to keep in mind. It was a lot of zone running. And they're going to have a diverse running game, and I believe Liam Cohen, he showed it. He will lean into whatever is working best for his guys. Offensive line-wise, running back-wise, they're going to be pretty diverse. And then I think as the season goes on, you're probably going to see more and more of a kind of honed-in rushing attack. Saw Jarian Jones get a nice pass breakup versus De'Ami Brown. I mentioned, I believe it was yesterday. Yeah. He and Parker had some really good matchups. It was cool seeing Jarian get a nice pass breakup against De'Ami, but then De'Ami had several catches today where he was very impressive as well. And he continues to be one of the most targeted guys for the offense. Liam Cohen talked about it. Trevor Lawrence talked about it. He's been very, in Washington last year, and I talked about this when he was signed, he was a screen, jet sweep, vertical shot guy. That's what he was primarily in the Washington offense. They're expanding that role, expanding that route tree in Jacksonville, and I think he's doing a really good job with it. So kudos to De'Ami, but also kudos to Jarian for getting a nice pass breakup today. I mentioned Tank Bigsby having a nice run. Travis Etienne had a nice run as well. Bashal Tutin had one where it was at least 10 yards before he would have been touched. So, again, goes to that running game. DeAndre Prince had a pass breakup today. Good to see the rookie from last year's class who has a lot of speed, a lot of experience in the SEC, going out and making a play there on the sideline. It was almost intercepted, but not by DeAndre. He did a nice job getting a hand on the ball, and it popped up, and then another defender almost got it, but couldn't quite. Johnny Munt had a fumble. I could not tell who forced it, but I do know they are working on that. They are working on punching that ball out consistently. The linebackers at the second level work on that a lot. Had Trevor hitting Brian Thomas Jr. on a deep shot down the middle. Pretty cool to see that, a day after what happened with the injury scare. You saw Cephas get a carry, and I can tell you the Jaguars, they have really emphasized getting him the ball in space and letting him do work with the ball in his hands. I don't know if that means he's going to make the team. It's a long way to go, right? But Cephas has been heavily involved in that sort of way. Kind of cool to see for him. Somebody I really liked coming out of the draft last year. Jaguars were able to get him on undrafted free agency. Wasn't able to make an impact in year one, but has an opportunity here to carve out a role on the back end of the roster potentially. You saw Cam Little look incredible today. He was absolutely booming it. 505 in team. One of them was from 55 plus. It might have been 60, but either way, that's easy work for Cam Little in practice, and I don't say that lightly. It's incredible that that's easy work for him. But these kickers, so talented these days, and Cam Little, one of the most talented in the league. I mean, 93% of his kicks made last year. He was unbelievable from 50 plus. He was perfect today. And each one of those kicks, even the shorter ones, I mean, they looked like they would have been good from 60 plus. He was booming it today. Really good day for him in practice. And then there was a little bit more 11 on 11 later on, not a ton. That's when you saw Travis Hunter come in on defense. But LaQuint Allen in 11 on 11 had multiple grabs out of the backfield. And it's actually, according to Chad Morton, it's LeQuint Allen. I'm going to have to try to get used to that. LeQuint Allen out of Syracuse, the rookie 7th round pick. And Trevor talked about how he has that pass protection understanding and the really reliable hands. That's exactly what the scouting report said coming out of Syracuse, and you're continuing to see that here. So that's good. Jack Kaiser, the 4th round pick at linebacker, almost had an interception. He got both hands on it. He was kind of drifting backwards trying to get to it and wasn't quite able to haul it in, but that was a nice play in coverage from Jack Kaiser, who is a smart coverage linebacker. You saw that on his tape a lot at Notre Dame. Liam Cohen spoke and talked about how this week, even though it's nice to see execution, it's nice to see guys making plays, it's more about the alignment stuff, the assignments, getting out of the huddle, getting into formation, and having a clean operation. They made progress in that regard today. He felt good about the progress they made. And they have refs out there this week. There was some penalties called pre-snap or at the snap on offense that Liam Cohen wanted to see cleaned up, and he felt like they did clean it up. So he feels like they're in a fairly good place in that regard, moving into this period where they're not going to have any organized team activities, practice, etc., meetings in between now and training camp. So he's happy they went out on the right foot. Felt like the offense kind of after a down day yesterday, it was cleaner. Less balls on the ground, less penalties, all that stuff. While these players are off on break before training camp, Liam Cohen does expect them to be in great shape physically and mentally when they come in for training camp. So he expects them to be in the playbook, expects them to understand exactly what they're doing, and he also doesn't want early training camp, to be a time where they're getting in shape. He wants them to be in shape for training camp and come in and hit the ground running. So I think that's going to be critical for these guys. And I think the Jaguars in general have the type of guys that will be able to stay focused and come in with the right mindset and the right preparation for training camp so they can get off on the right foot. And then final note here, Liam Cohen talked about Travis Hunter, and he's very impressed with him, both sides of the ball, all the mental work, etc. I guess, determination and focus that he has. But he said also he's among the team leaders in terms of they had a kind of a program going on where they're trying to see which guys can, add some muscle mass and stuff to their frames. Not the same way they were doing last year, obviously. They're trying to get these guys to play at their optimum weights and optimum, muscle composition and all that. But he did say Travis Hunter, especially upper body, really added some good muscle mass throughout this offseason, and he's really pleased with that. So that's pretty cool to see for Travis Hunter, because that was one of the things I talked about when he was drafted, about 185 pounds. Don't know how much he exactly weighs right now, but being able to add some body armor is kind of how I referred to it. You don't want him to completely change his body composition, because how he has played at the weight he has played has been what has led to a lot of success for him. Flexibility, the natural feel for him. But can you add a little bit here and there to try to make it so those hits don't do quite as much damage? And I think that's the direction that they're moving in with Travis Hunter. Again, not trying to make him like a 205 pound receiver, but add a little bit here and there to be able to take on some more hits, take on some more challenges from defenders more physically. So good stuff there from Travis Hunter. I thought overall impressive week of practice, and we're going to have a nice little break here until training camp kicks off in late July. Really appreciate y'all tuning in, supporting the channel. Practice might be over, but This channel is not going anywhere. We're still going to be trying to get out 2 videos a day for y'all, all Jags content all the time. If you enjoy it here, please like and subscribe. Y'all have a good one.